What do you do when you have a live show? You're always going to have gremlins in there. So yeah, if you, I hope you liked my intro because you got to hear it twice simultaneously. And I'm getting an echo. Let me bring my guest on to see if she's. Are you hearing an echo?
I am not.
So, I'm hearing myself in there, but it's like a 3 second delay.
I'm fine. I hear you. I hear me.
Okay, well, if you're not hearing it, then I guess we're okay. Okay, so I don't know. I'm hearing like a 5 second delay. So we'll go on with the show then. I don't know what's
On with
going
the
on.
show, Bob.
There's gremlins in my computer somewhere.
Yeah, well, that's because you have me on because technology hates me.
Okay, so let's let you talk, Yvonne. Let me talk to my guest what this show's about. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I guess gotta let you know if you have written a book and you don't know what to do with it, and you're like me, I have actually a work that I have not done anything with because, well, long story short, I've got a lot of things going on with it and had to do some editing. I went to a publishing company and I realized my play was too long. So this show, for those of you that are up and coming authors, and maybe you're like me, you have something you don't know what to do with it. You don't know where to turn. Should I self-publish? Should I go through a publishing company? How do I even start to write my manual or my manuscript or my play, whatever? You've come to the right place because I've got the expert right here, and she's got a book coming up. I'll display this real quick, and we'll talk about that more later. It's called, literally, the How to Write a book. And ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to Yvonne DiVita, and she'll tell us more about her work. So, Yvonne, welcome to the Van Buren Variety Show.
Bob, I'm so excited to be here. I'm so happy. I've watched some of your other shows, and I really like the way you approach things. And I like the fact that you have such a variety of people on. So for me, I'm a developmental book editor. And what I do is I actually help people write the book. And then my husband, he will design their book cover. He will design their interior page layout and produce the book. We will put it up on Amazon for the author. We will do a book launch and we will work with the author on some of their marketing. So, we're like a one stop shop if you're looking to write a book and be successful with it, especially business books.
Oh, wow. And we all need help with that for sure. Um, Yeah, I admit I shouldn't. I need the bit. I need. I don't have much of a business head, so that will actually come in handy with me. So let me just kind of give you an example. We talked about this before the show, and in fact, I've told my audience this before. I years ago I wrote a theatrical play, a stage play, based on a company many years ago that yeah, didn't turn out too well, but made a comedy out of it. But it's just been languishing because
Mm-hmm.
there's a one thing, my manuscript was too long
Mm-hmm.
and I haven't had anybody else read it. So in my situation, Yvonne, what would you suggest for me? Anybody else that maybe have the same thing going on?
Well, here's the first thing is we would have a conversation on what you want to achieve with this play, on whether you want to actually turn it into a book instead of a play, and how would that work? And one of the big important things is understanding who the content you're writing about is for. So it isn't for you. If you come to me because you want to become rich and famous like Stephen King, I'm probably not going to be able to work with you because that's not my goal. My goal is to help people write books that matter, and they matter because they help other people. So we would want to talk about how is this book or this play going to help the people that you intend to read it or watch it. And that's one of the very first questions is who is the
Okay.
audience?
Right. Like who's your target audience or what message are you trying to
Hmm.
portray? Is it for entertainment? Is it like informative? Or is it like an
Yeah, how
opinion? Are you
to.
trying to sway opinions? Those kind of questions?
Hmm. Yes, and generally, I love it. People are so passionate about their work, and I love that. I'm passionate also. And so when I say to someone, so, who exactly is this for? And they say to me, it's for everybody. I think everybody should read this because they will get something out of it. And
Hmm.
I kind of say to them, well, not all 7 billion people on the planet
I agree with you.
are
Yes.
going
Hmm.
to want to read this book. So let's narrow it down a little. And so we narrow it way, way, way down. Because in the end, Bob, so if you're choosing women, you're writing a book for women in small businesses who want to turn a hobby into a business. You've done this, you're very successful at it,
Hmm.
you want to write a book about it to help other women. Wonderful.
Sure.
Okay. Now we're also going to say, well, what kinds of hobbies? Okay.
Hmm.
Photography and cake decorating are two different kinds of things. So are we going to talk to the photographers or the cake decorators? Because in the end, Bob, if you aim it at the photographers, the cake decorators are going to want to read it because they have to take pictures of their cakes.
Sure. Hmm. And I agree with what you said earlier. You write a book, and maybe I or the person watching maybe is full of energy and like this will be a great world changer. I'm thinking more in like terms like, okay, a lot of people like mystery novels, and I
Yes.
like mysteries too.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody on the planet back here likes mystery novels. There might be some people that like comedy. Oh, they need a good laugh. That'll make them feel good.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody likes comedy. They
Right.
like historical dramas
Right.
or
Right.
something. So, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because, like my play, even I was thinking, oh, everyone's going to enjoy that. Everybody loves a good comedy about the office. Not everybody would like a good comedy about office work. I
Nope,
mean,
not
so
everybody. Not
so I
everybody.
guess what one thing you're saying, Yvonne, make sure you fine tune your audience.
Well, that's what we do together. That's
Okay.
nurturing, rather, master book builders. Um, that's what we do. Is we talk to the would-be author or the person who already has a manuscript, and we say, okay, who are the people? Who is the group, the core group, whether it's 100 people or 500 people? Who are they? Where do they hang out? I mean, that's a big deal because we want to know where they hang out because that's where you're going to market your book to them.
Absolutely.
The there's a I know that you know the movie Field of Dreams, right? And the
Yes,
old
I love
saying,
Kevin Costner.
yes, if you build it, they will come, right? Well, guess what? If you write it, they will not come.
No.
I am going to tell you, you can write it, you can put it on Amazon, and you will go to a big black hole that nobody will find if you don't market your book.
Or if you go to these five and dime places, then you always have the bargain books section,
Oh, yeah.
50% off. It's books that nobody wants to read. Unfortunately. Well, you mentioned something earlier that I want to bring this up on our website here. You mentioned your website, and ladies and gentlemen, Yvonne's got a very, very, very informative website. I'm going to bring this up here for those of you that's only on audio only. The name of the website is Master Book Builders, all one word, masterbookbuilders.com, and I guarantee you will find a wealth of information. I've seen it myself. So, Yvonne, just let us know if people go to this website here, what will they see and what all will they find there?
Well, it's interesting. Last year, we were called Nurturing Big Ideas.
Okay.
And that is, I mean, if we want to go into a deep dive of Yvonne, who started writing stories in second grade, and then I
Really?
was
Second grade? Oh,
second
wow.
grade, the teacher said I was going to flunk second grade if I didn't start doing some of my work. So apparently I did my work because I graduated second grade. But if we talk about the fact that I have always had a passion, not just for writing myself, but for helping other people be good writers.
That's good.
When I launched my business, I chose the name Nurturing Big Ideas because I wanted people to understand
Mm-hmm.
this is a collaborative effort. This isn't me telling you how to write a book. This is me helping you write a book. And my husband works in the business with me, and it was rather comical over the years that we were nurturing big ideas that we would work with people, and about halfway through our programs, people would say, "Hey, are you guys married?" And we'd be like, "Yeah."
Well, yeah. I
And
mean,
they didn't know it because he has his office in the basement and I have my office up here. And so we thought to ourselves, we got to get a little bit better at helping people understand that we are a team and that we've been a team for over 20 years. And
oh,
so we
congratulations.
came up with Master Book Builders. And so we moved from Nurturing Big Ideas to Master Book Builders. And this is where we want to make sure that not only that we can help you produce a book that is just as good as any book put out by a traditional publishing house, just as good, but we also want to make sure that any questions get answered, that people come to me all the time, Bob, and they may not have a book yet. They may just be thinking about it. And so
Yeah.
we'll have
Mm-hmm.
a conversation. And I'll ask them all the questions that I've talked about here. I'll ask them what their goals are, who their readers are, how long they think the book is going to be. I mean, that's a big topic. We could talk about that for a while. How long should your book be? Should it be 500 pages? Should it be 100 pages? And the answer is it should be as long as it needs to be. However,
Good answer. I like that.
However, we do recommend if it's a nonfiction business book to keep it around 200 to 250 pages.
Makes sense. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If it goes over that, we'd like to talk about creating a second book. So now you'll have two books. If it's a novel, yes, you can write those 500 pages because people who read novels will read them.
They'll eat it up. Yeah.
And so at Master Book Builders, so you put up a picture of our book, the How to Write a Book book. And in the How to Write a Book, we talk about comparing the building of a house to the writing of a book. So when you're building a house, you have to have a big idea, which is your foundation. You have to build the supporting structures, which is your outline.
Absolutely.
You have to have chapters, which are all the different rooms. You have to have design. You have to have landscaping. So we compare all of that to writing a book. And that is how we came up with Master Book Builders.
That's great. And your website, like I said, it's full of great information. So I know everybody that you will, if you're writing a novel and you're writing a book or you just need some ideas, Yvonne's got some great information here. So again, that's masterbookbuilders.com. Yvonne, one topic that has always, when I've had other authors on this show, it always comes up. And maybe you can kind of guide us to, some kind of, suggestions or whatever, advice. There are some authors that go through a publishing company.
Mm-hmm.
There are some authors that prefer to self-publish.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a preference, or was it depend on the manuscript or what? I'm sorry?
Is there a right way or a wrong way? No. I will tell you that in this day and age, we're in 2023,
Mm-hmm.
it is ever more hard, much harder to get into a publishing house like Simon & Schuster or Random House.
Competition.
They no longer take unsolicited manuscripts. 30 years ago, you could send your manuscript to them, and they had college students who used to sit in a room and read the manuscripts and determine whether or not it was any good to go to an editor. They don't have those anymore. They want to have manuscripts submitted by agents. Getting an agent is even harder today than it used to be.
Really?
Because you're up against a lot of competition.
That's true.
Much more than we were back in the day, because even though there were a lot of people who wanted to write books, hardly anybody actually took the time or the effort. And to be honest, Bob, I tell people all the time that if you write a book and you build a team, and I'll talk about that in a minute, to help you produce a professional product, because a book is a product, if you do this, the rest of the world immediately, the minute they see that book on Amazon or you tell them you've written a book, your esteem and the respect they have for you goes through the roof. Why? Because they want to write a book and they're never going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we want all of those books to be good books. We help
Sure.
people write books that matter. Okay,
Absolutely.
We want them to have the right design. We want them to have editing, proofreading. We want to pay attention to what we call the through line. So, what is the message in the book from beginning to end? And the options today. You can self-publish, which is what happens when you work with us. We help you create an imprint for yourself and an LLC. So it's like having a small business. When you decide to write a book, it's like starting your own small business.
Okay.
You can go to other hybrid publishers where they do some of the work for you, and they also take some of the royalties.
Oh, of course, they want their percentage, of course.
Right.
Yep.
Now, very few of them do any marketing.
Oh, right. I did not know that.
No, they call sending out a press release marketing, and it really annoys me because that is not marketing.
No.
I have two authors that I'm working with right now who started with hybrid publishers and ended up having to come to us and start from scratch. We had to start from the very beginning, new covers, new interior design, all the writing that I'm going through, we're doing the editing on. So those are indie publishers, hybrid publishers.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are small presses, which are kind of a traditional publishing model where they might pay you in advance.
Mm-hmm.
So the advance would probably be like $1,000.
Okay.
And they take a portion of the royalties also.
Sure.
And so in the traditional publishing world, they not only, well, they might give you an advance, again, maybe $2,000, maybe $3,000. You're not getting that $50,000 advance that you would like to get.
Mm-hmm.
You're just not going to get it. And
right.
They own the copyright. So you no longer own the book or the story.
Your own property. Wow.
They take the copyright. If they decide halfway through writing the book that a competitor is coming out with a book just like this, and they don't want to be behind, they pull the plug and you're stuck. They put the book away.
Wow.
You've lost everything because they own the copyright.
You're pretty much chained to them, basically, is what it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, people think the reason that they want to use a big publisher is because the distribution will be better. They think the publisher is going to get them into all the bookstores.
Get the name out, right.
Mm-hmm. And while that is sometimes true, having your book in the bookstore does you no good at all if you don't market it.
No one knows about it. Yeah.
Nobody knows it's there. That's number one. Number two, just this week, the CEO of Barnes & Noble said they're redesigning the model, the bookstore model.
Mm-hmm.
And each individual store is its own franchise. So they're allowing the owners to set up the stores the way they see fit. And by the way, the CEO said they are no longer doing returns. So a return is in the traditional publishing world.
Wow.
If I sent you, I'm a big publisher, and I sent you 50 copies of this new book,
mm-hmm.
and you only sold one, well, you could return the other 49. And the publisher would either grind them up into pulp, or they would just sit around.
Right.
He actually admitted that in that traditional publishing model, 70% of the books sent to bookstores by traditional publishers were returned.
70% of them.
70%.
Way more than almost 3/4 actually.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know what good this is doing for the average person. there are some superstars that pop up to the top, but those are like 0.1%. Even the Stephen Kings of the world, the Tony Robbins and the people like that, they had to start small. They had to start somewhere. They didn't just burst onto the scene and suddenly sell
and win the lottery all right off the bat. Yeah.
Right. It really doesn't. So that's why we recommend self-publishing. You maintain your copyright. If you work with us, we do not take any royalties, but we make sure that you have the support you need. We teach you what you need to do for marketing. We do a book launch so that you can do a book launch on Zoom and invite people from all over the country, all over the world.
That's great.
And have a big party. And you can create an Amazon bestseller that way. And one of the big things that we pay attention to are book awards. So we make sure our authors submit their books to various places that give awards for outstanding books.
I like that. Yeah.
Indie published books. And 2 of our authors have won awards.
Oh, that's great. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Well, you brought up a subject earlier. And again, I told you about the play, a manuscript that I finished but haven't done anything with. One of the reasons, I think, and you just reminded me of something why I haven't done anything with it. And it might be something that maybe I was given misinformation about this. Like I have the play and I've written it and I've done my own edits, but I need someone else to look at it too.
Sure.
But it's not copyrighted. And so I asked someone, this is many, many years ago now, I said, well, I want to make sure it's copyrighted. It's my work. And someone said, you can either verify or just, get rid of this piece of information. They said, well, Bob, if you get the manuscript, a hard copy, and you send it to yourself through the mail, certified, that means it's copyrighted. But now, is that true, or is that just an old tale?
Okay, that's what we used to do back in the day. I was a freelance writer, so I would send a manuscript to a magazine or something, and I would include a copy to be sent back to me.
Okay.
You didn't have to do that. I don't know where we learned it. I don't know who taught us. You did not have to do it then. You do not have to do it now. As soon as you start writing your book, it is copyrighted. Now, we still register the copyright because you need to have that registered copyright to protect yourself from someone who might see content from your book and try to steal it.
Yeah. I was wondering about the copyright, because I guess I probably, I actually have to say that wasn't the only reason, but one reason I was like, well, I don't want to let it go, because what if it goes in somebody else's hands? Hey, we like this, we want it. Oh, it's not copyrighted. Well, it's not Bob Van Buren's anymore.
Okay. Now, I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad. So I am revising one of my ebooks called 13 Excuses Not to Write Your Book This Year. And one of the 13 excuses is I don't want to do it. I don't want to tell people about it because somebody's going to steal my idea.
Uh-oh, you're talking about me here.
That's not going to happen. That is not, number one, you own the copyright, so they can't. You can prove that this is yours. You have it on your computer. It is date stamped. It is time stamped. You have all that. So nobody can steal your ideas, number one. But number two, nobody wants to steal your idea. Certainly not a professional that you might want to share it with. They will not. That would put them out of business.
Sure. That makes sense. And I also,
there are people who want to send me a manuscript and they want me to sign a non-disclosure. And I kind of roll my eyes a little bit because what do they think I'm going to do with their manuscript? It is. I am not in. It is not my job to try and take over anybody's idea or anybody's work. That will put me out of business. It's not necessary. It really isn't.
And I guess along with that misinformation that I heard, and some other misinformation I heard, they say, well, you can get it copyrighted, but you have to get a real expensive lawyer that may have to cost you thousands of dollars just for the copyright only. I've heard that.
No. You send all to the copyright office. We work with our authors to make sure that they get copyright registration. It's not, no.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that those of you that got misinformed like I did many years ago, that you don't have to hire an expensive lawyer to get your copyright. You don't have to send a manuscript to yourself. So we have just disproven two of those things.
So Bob, you will have to hire an expensive lawyer if you get a traditional publishing contract, because not only do they want the copyright of the print book, they want the copyright of the digital work, the copyright of the audio work, the copyright of all the foreign rights. And so you're going to need to get a lawyer to fight for those other rights, because you can fight for your audio book and your digital book and your foreign rights. But the average author, the average citizen doesn't know how to do that. So you will have to get a lawyer for that.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you told me about that. So, and I always like to put comments and questions from the audience. And we have a comment from the audience to you. Jacqueline says Yvonne is the best.
Oh, Jackie.
You know her?
Yeah, she's writing a really, really important book. I'm not going to talk about it, but she is.
All right. Well, thank you, Jackie. Appreciate you tuning in. Let's see if I got some more comments here. Let's see. Well, I thought I did, but if anybody has any questions, make sure you leave comments, and I'll make sure that Yvonne sees them for sure. Do you require now? Like I said, I went to a publishing company. I didn't go get published, but this particular publishing company, I didn't send my work to them. They just sent me something back that said, okay, in order to submit something to us, you have to have this. And they required a certain font, a certain size font, and certain spacing. So if someone wants to submit a work, do you have any requirements or suggestions to a certain font?
I don't require any of that. If you're going to submit it to me and you want me to review it, there is a cost for me to review it.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
However, in the bigger world, what you need to do if you want to go with either a small press or a traditional publisher is create a proposal. And in the proposal, you will want to use at least a 12-point font. You will want to use an
12 points.
12 point.
Okay.
You want to use an easily recognizable font. It won't be the final font of your book, but you want this for the proposal, because when you email it, and that's how things go today, you email them, you do not send them in the mail, you email it, you want to make sure that the person at the other end has the same font. So so I talked to someone a few months ago who was writing a book, and she had gone out and gotten this really fancy font. She bought this really fancy font.
Really? Okay.
And I sighed a little and I said, that's wonderful, that's beautiful, it's lovely. But if you're doing a digital book, not everyone's going to have that font on their computer. And guess what? Their computer's going to substitute something else.
It's like Wingdings or something,
And it might be totally unreadable. So you don't want that to happen. So you want to use Times New Roman or Garamond or one of those easy fonts that people are used to, that everybody has on their computer. And in the proposal, you're going to want to describe the book. You're going to want to tell why are you the person to write the book? What is your experience, whether it's fiction, how-to, nonfiction, memoir, whatever the book is, why are you the person to write this book? What is the book going to do for the reader? Who are the readers? And by the way, how many followers do you have on social media? Because today, Bob, the traditional publishers won't talk to you if you don't have at least between 10,000 and 50,000 followers on social media. They will not even talk to you.
Let me make sure I got that clear. Make sure everybody else heard that. In other words, if you have to have on social media at least between 10,000 and 50,000 followers for a book publisher to even talk to you.
Yes.
Did you hear that, ladies and gentlemen?
Yes,
oh, I didn't know that. Oh.
And even agents are going to look for at least 10,000 followers, because if you don't have, this comes in the marketing portion of your proposal, and this will be the biggest portion. A proposal can run anywhere from 20 to 50 pages, and the majority of it is how you're going to market the book. Because if you can't convince the agent and the publisher that you have an audience and you can sell the book, then they don't want to do the book. Now, let me just
Wow.
back up one more
Okay.
thing here.
Please.
One really important thing. If you're lucky and you get this contract, okay, the publisher says, the editor takes it, they think it's good, send it to the publisher, they get a publisher for you. The publisher's going to give you like a $2,000 or $3,000 advance. Your book is going to be priced at, let's say, $21.99. You have to sell enough books to cover that advance before you see a penny in royalties. If you do not sell out the cost of the advance within a year, then the book is pulled.
In other words, they won't market it or
They
publish it
won't.
anymore.
They won't do anything, and they won't do another printing. They won't. And they won't do another book with you.
Wow. I mean, that's the nature of the beast, though. That it's a business. Everyone has
Yep.
to make money.
Yep.
As
That's
sad
why
as that
if you
is.
self-publish, you're in control of all of that. It's work, as I said. It's like having your own small business, a new small business. You have to learn how to market your book. You have to understand who the audience is. What do they want to hear about the book? We give our authors support by creating a lot of 3D images of the book, with people reading the book, with people at the beach, people in their living room in front of a fireplace. So these are images that they are allowed to use in their marketing. We teach them what to say in their marketing. The thing whoever's watching, whoever's listening, if you have a book, do not throw your book cover at me every single day on social media and say, here's my book and here's the link to Amazon. Do not do this, all right?
Remember that, ladies and gentlemen.
What you want to do is tell me something about the main character. If it's a nonfiction business book, tell me why it's important to me. How's it going to help me? What solution is it going to solve? And then at the very bottom of your social post, you have a little link to Amazon. People know what that is. You don't have to say, go to Amazon and buy my book. If you just keep throwing your book at me, what am I going to do, Bob?
And don't tell, you're going to say, no, I don't have time for this. I don't know what it's about, I have no details about that, you know. Yeah, like I said, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, if you go to her, contact Yvonne, don't just throw stuff at her. I mean, that's kind of common sense. Let her know something about your book, and why. In fact, that might be a good question to ask yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. Ask yourself why people would want to read your book. What audience are you trying to reach? Right, Yvonne?
Mm-hmm. Very good point. Very good.
What makes your book stand out more than anything else? I mean, why would people want to read your book? So, good question.
So here's a really interesting angle to that. So when we talk to authors, authors will come to me and they'll say, I thought about writing a book, but A, who cares? Who cares about me? Number one. And B, who's going to read a book I write? So the answer to number one is I care. And if I think your book is good enough, then I have a whole lot of other people I know who probably care. You probably have a whole lot of people you know who care.
Yeah.
Okay? It doesn't have to be 1 million people. All right? That's number one. Number two, who's going to read it? Well, I tell my authors, go to the public library, go to the aisle where all the books in the genre you're writing are stacked, and tell me how many different authors are there.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of different authors, because the average person doesn't read one author about one type of book.
True.
They want a variety of voices, and if your book is on that shelf, they're going to give you a chance.
Absolutely. Good.
Oh, and Bob, by the way, now that we're talking about this, I just want to throw this out there because it's kind of fun. The average author sells 250 books.
In a span of what? A lifetime, or is that?
In the lifetime of the book.
250 copies. That's the average.
Average. because they don't market it.
I see. Because nobody knows about them.
That's right. There it is. How does that help you? It does not help you.
Wow.
That's
good point. Yeah, sure. And I got a couple of questions now. Actually, it's kind of on a personal level. I had a really good friend many years ago, and she wrote a book. And I don't know that she marketed it that much. Of course, I bought her book. I knew her. But now she, a few years ago, has since passed on.
Oh.
And she had no heirs.
Okay.
So my question, I guess, this goes along with what we're saying. What about an author maybe that has written a book, and they got it out there, that was published, and it was on Amazon. I'm not sure if it still is. And all of a sudden the author dies. Mm-hmm. And where does the royalties, if any, go? I mean, what happens in a situation like that?
Well, the royalties go to the estate. The author will have some kind of an estate if there are royalties to go there. And the copyright is in, I believe, and don't quote me on this, Tom knows this better than I do, but I believe it's the lifetime of the author plus 30 years. So once they die, it's 30 years. After the 30 years is up, it's out of copyright. So
it's probably going to, quote unquote, an estate or a trust fund or something.
Yes, it would go to an estate, whether it was a long lost cousin or anybody else like that. Or if there wasn't anyone, then the book would just die.
I see. And then also maybe you can, like I said, I like it that you're dissecting some of this misinformation that I had. So maybe you can dissect this one for me too. We talked about it for this show. I was told, of course, this is by a publisher now, that a quote-unquote well-written book or manuscript takes about a minute to read or a minute to perform on stage. Is that true or is that not true?
I don't have a clue what that means. What, a minute to perform on stage? Who told you that?
You want me to say the publishing company that said that?
Sure.
Dramatist Publishing.
Okay, never heard of them, and they may believe that, but I would never say such a thing. I guess what they're trying to say is, can you distill the message of the book down to one page? And yes, I would say if you can do that, you are golden. Because when you want to market the book and you want to go on a podcast, and you're going to be on Bob Van Buren's variety show,
yes,
you're going to want to talk about the book. And you're only going to have those little snippets on that page because you're not reading that whole book on his show.
No.
So if you can condense it down and have the salient points and the most important parts of it on one page, these are what we call the talking points for our authors. And I always work with my authors on the stories that are in their book. Because I'm a big believer in stories, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, you need to be telling stories. And so I will say to them sometimes, we want to leave that particular story out of the book, because when you're speaking, whether you're on stage or on a podcast, you want to share something that's not in the book that's special just to the audience you're speaking to.
Right. Good words, good advice. I'm glad we talked about that, because I remember thinking 1 minute per page. I'm thinking a minute to read a whole page, but I remember thinking, well, it depends on what font it's in. If it's tiny writing, it'll take you longer than a minute to read that page.
Well, then it depends on the person. There are people who can read it in probably 30 seconds, and other people who it takes 3 minutes. That's just absurd to think this is a blanket statement. But I will tell you also, I want to mention, I mentioned the word stories. Okay, let's talk a little bit about that.
Okay.
So obviously in a fiction book, you have to have a lot of story. It's a story in
the
and
plot.
Of itself.
Yeah.
There are plots and there are subplots and there are all these characters, and we can talk about the hero's journey and
twists and turns and
right. And all of those things and how important it is to make sure that you're maintaining the engagement of the reader. So we get into show, don't tell. How do you do that? How do you show something without telling? That's one of the things I work on with my authors is I will say to them, you're just telling, you told me all the stuff that happened, and it was a nice little report that you could put in a PowerPoint if you want, but I don't want to watch a PowerPoint about this.
Yeah.
I want the story.
Sure.
So where is the story? How did you feel that day? How did you feel when that happened? And I tell all my authors, that they have to bleed on the page. I say, if I don't see a little blood on the page, then I'm not going to take you seriously, and your readers aren't going to take you seriously, because they're out there in the big world and they're bleeding and they're suffering and they need help, and they want to know that you understand them. So they want to see a little blood on the page.
Sure, absolutely. Now, as far as writing goes, I've often heard that, now maybe not all authors do this. I kind of did that a little bit, but they would take, let's see if you agree with this or not. They'll like maybe have a 3x5 card or a 4x6 card, and maybe they'll keep it by their bed at night, and all of a sudden maybe they come up with an idea and they write it down real quick. And they put that in the story as well. Have you heard of that? Does that work?
A lot of people used to do that. Now they just pick up their phone and record.
Oh, that's true.
Thinking.
I'm old school, so I guess that's
there are a lot of old school people who still use typewriters, believe it or not.
Typewriter? Whoa, I never thought I'd hear that before.
Now, I'll tell you, that is not going to fly when you want to get published, because I am not. Who are you going to get to type all that into your computer? It has to be in the computer to get published.
Electronic. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so you can type it up all you want, but you're going to have someone put it digitally into the computer. As far as the 3x5 cards, there are a lot of tools online also that can help you with writing. There's Scrivener is one of the most popular ones that I hear a lot of people use. I don't use any of those tools, but I hear about them, and a lot of the authors I know and writers I know have their favorites. You pay a little bit, and they perform the same way a 3x5 card does, and you can keep track of what you're building. Some people like to use Trello. And
I know Trello. I've worked with Trello.
That's a way to keep your ideas going, and if you're like we're having this conversation, and maybe the back of your head you're thinking, and you want to put that in, so you go to Trello and you write it down so you don't forget it. And those are really great ways for people to gather their thoughts, gather their ideas, get themselves organized. So one of the first things that we do is we create a table of contents, and it's a living document.
Okay.
It's fluid because we can change it while we're writing the book. In fact, I have taken, with some of my authors, I've taken chapter 5 to make it chapter 1, or I've taken chapter 4 and turned it into chapter 7.
Yeah, okay.
Because this is the flow of the story, and it works better that way. So the table of contents is just a guide. It's just something to keep us focused on the fact that this is what the book is about. These are the stories we're telling. This is why it's important to the people. And this is how it's going to flow.
That sounds great. So I guess that goes along with it, Yvonne. Let's just say someone has a book and they've hired you to look at it and tell me what you think. So in addition to like maybe sorting some things around, I guess you also look for spelling errors, grammatical errors, plot holes if there's something that's not answered. I mean, I guess you give suggestions to that.
One of the fun things is people are very fond of their mixed metaphors, and I have a lot of fun with that. And I keep saying to them, so on page 2 it was a dog sniffing around in the grass, and on chapter 4 it's now an elephant stomping through the. No, we're not. It's either the dog or the elephant. We're not going to have. What is the purpose and which one works better, and then we figure that out. But it's fun. It's fun. Yeah, so I generally work with people before they have a manuscript.
Oh, before. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, they come to me when they're going to start writing their book.
Start writing. Okay, that's even better. So they don't fall in the fit.
With authors who already have a manuscript. As I said, two of our authors, one of our authors came to us with a book that was done by another publishing company, and it was over 400 pages. And I immediately said, this is 2 books. This is not 1 book. And he said, I know it should have been, but they didn't tell me. They said it was fine. The cover was awful. I said, who signed off on the cover? Well, they told me the cover should be that way. And I'm like, the cover, Bob, let me tell you.
They ruined it, sounds like.
Let me tell you this. Okay, write this
Okay.
down. Take this to the bank.
Remember
Yes,
this, folks.
people buy books by their cover. Do not believe that old saying, don't judge a book by its cover, because everybody does. The minute they're on Amazon or in a bookstore or a library and they see your cover, that is what is going to interest them to pick the book up and look at it. If the cover is no good, if the cover does not represent the story, you have lost a sale.
Wow, just by the cover.
Just by the cover.
Wow. So, yeah, so artwork, that does count. Because sometimes, not to diss older books, I'm talking about older books from the 1920s, 1930s. Most of them, they were just solid, a black cover, a brown or blue. That had no artwork at all. And sometimes, and being human, like, do I really want to read this? That might be kind of boring if they won't show me
Well,
an artwork.
You don't necessarily need artwork. Okay, I like my authors, my nonfiction authors. I try and get them to put their picture on the cover.
Oh, that's good. That's a good suggestion.
They don't always want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But what we do is we'll go to Amazon and we'll look at like the top 100 bestsellers in the particular genre that you're writing in, and we'll look at the fonts, we'll look at the design, we'll look at the how the author's name is listed. We'll look at the subtitles, we'll look at the titles. We're going to look at how each one of them operates, and then we're going to look at what their rank is, okay? So the Amazon algorithm updates hourly.
Hourly? Wow. I didn't know that.
So you can have a bestseller this moment, and an hour from now, it's not a bestseller anymore.
It tanks. Mm-hmm.
But you still, if you capture the screenshot, you have a bestseller, and you can say that. But in the end, you want to see what categories those bestsellers that you're looking at are listed in, and you want to choose categories on Amazon where you're not going to be competing with those people, because you're just getting started. You cannot compete with someone who's been on Amazon and bestseller status in 4 different categories for the last 5 years. So you don't want to be in those categories.
Right. It's been kind of milked already, or should I say saturated?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm going to talk about books. I want to definitely display your book again. So I'll just bring the question to you now. This question, ladies and gentlemen, the book I'm displaying, for those of you hearing this on audio only, the name of it is The How to Write a Book. And I think that would be a good place for everybody to start, counting me, because even though I've written something, it definitely needs work. So, and I'll just bring you the question, where can they buy your book, Yvonne?
It's on Amazon. They can buy it on Amazon. They can go to our website, and I don't know if we have it up yet because we're still uploading our content for the new website. But, we wrote this book specifically because we came across so many people who didn't understand the things I'm talking about right now. It isn't about how to compose the content in a book. It's about the design of a book. It's about understanding what a cover means. It's about understanding what it means to have a developmental editor. And then the back end of the book has stories. I tapped into all of my friends who were authors and asked them to tell me, how did you get started? What advice would you have for someone just getting started writing a book? So there are a lot of stories at the tail end of this book that will teach you exactly how other people have gotten started with their books.
That's a perfect title. I mean, it's straight to the point. The How to Write a Book. You can't get any more definite than that. I like it. Well, I didn't have the picture in time for our show, but now you've got another book out we can talk about. It's called 15 Ways. Can you tell us about that book? 15
Proven Ways to Market Your Book and Yourself. Okay. And this is one of the things that we offer to people who want to join our mailing list. You can get this on our homepage. And the book is about all the different ways that you don't think of to get out there and market yourself in your book. And in the end, I'll tell you, Bob, in the end, you're marketing yourself as much as you are the book. We tell our authors all the time that readers today, because of social media, because of the value in the kind of show that you're doing and in podcasting and all of that, readers want to get to know the author, and they have a chance to.
Sure.
30, 40 years ago, that wasn't true, but now it is. So we want our authors to understand we're going to be marketing you, and you're going to be marketing you as much as you are the book. And the best thing to do when you're on a podcast, again, is to talk about the experience of writing the book.
Sure.
Maybe share a little quirk about the main character that you didn't put in the book. Maybe talk about why something happened in chapter 2 and what you didn't or did include. So you want to be engaging the audience with the stories that will resonate with them and make them understand that you're the person they want to get in touch with. Because if you're a business professional, then you have written this book not only to help other people, but also to help build your business. And the way you do that is by using the book to create webinars, workshops, masterminds, and speaking engagements. And in order to do that, you have to sell yourself.
Absolutely, because everybody wants to know what's the brains behind the work, I guess you could say.
Yes.
That's awesome. So, ladies and gentlemen, please go to her website. It's, again, masterbookbuilders.com. You will find a wealth of information. And if you're like me and you've got a manuscript, either you've started or you haven't started. That's even better if you haven't started. You've got a perfect person right here to guide you through the process. So, I definitely want to talk, Yvonne. We've got some more great comments from our audience. Let's see. The best, one of the comments, Scott says, such a knowledgeable guest, Bob. So thank you, Scott, for that.
Yeah.
And then when we mentioned your book earlier, the one we showed earlier, the book. Jackie said, that's a great book. So there, someone that's read it right there. So, all right. And I think it goes without saying, too, Yvonne, you said that your book's available on Amazon. And I think I can probably speak for you as well as all the other authors that's been on the show. I'm speaking to my audience here. If you buy Yvonne's book and you like it, make sure you leave a great review.
Yes.
Would that be a correct statement?
Yes. That we hammer that home to our authors all the time. If someone said they bought your book, thank them, engage them in conversation, ask them to write a review. And the other thing, Bob, is there are other places to sell your book besides Amazon.
Sure.
And that's
Barnes
something
and
we
Noble,
also share with our authors.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Amazon will connect you with Google Play and Barnes and Noble Online and places like that. I mean, Amazon is in the business of making their authors happy. So you're going to get distributed throughout a number of places. But there are also other ways of selling your book. You could buy author copies and sell it off your website as a signed copy. People will pay extra for a signed copy. So if your book is $25.99 and you're offering people a signed copy, you can sell it for $30.99 or something like that.
That's
People
even better.
They want that signed copy.
That's good information. So hopefully, if I write mine and I stop letting it collect dust over here, I'll let you know, Yvonne. Maybe, hey, we need Bob Van Buren's autograph.
There you go.
Don't know if it'll be worth anything on eBay, but you never know. Well, let me bring the book up one more time, ladies and gentlemen. You have to read this book. I'm going to get my own copy as well. The How to Write a Book. It sounds just very, very intriguing. And I like what you said at the top of the hour, Yvonne. This book, the cover, where it looks like you're building a house. And it pretty much is. Like you said, it's like building a house. You're building the foundation. And so
step-by-step plans.
So Well, Yvonne, I appreciate you being on the show. I've learned a lot, and I know my audience has too. And I appreciate your profession, Yvonne. And the reason I say that, because it's like me, and I'm sure I'm speaking for a lot of people that's either watching this live or people that'll watch this days, weeks, or months from now, where they're struggling. Maybe they got a great idea, they don't know where to turn. So I'm glad we have people like you that'll help, struggling people, or I say we call it, what's the word? Starving authors get started.
and that is another old wives' tale that we're putting away, because you don't have to be. You can actually pre-sell copies of your book. You can actually use your book to create the interest in speaking engagements and things like that, so that you can build the platform that you're going to serve up all this other content and all these other ideas on. And that is golden for anyone who's writing a business book. That is perfect. The way. I mean, event planners love authors. Why? Because authors have a message, and generally they know how to deliver the message.
That's great. Great advice. Well, Yvonne, again, I appreciate you being on the Van Buren Variety Show, and love to have you back to talk more. I'm sure we'll have more questions from up-and-coming authors, and so bring another work to us, and we'd love to talk to you again sometime.
Well, thank you, Bob. This has been a delight. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
You too.
And ladies and gentlemen, again, I always say this week after week, an hour just goes by way too fast when we have a great guest on and a great topic. But don't worry, those of you that haven't subscribed yet, you might see a subscribe button there, and that way you'll get updates on upcoming guests and upcoming topics. And drop me a line too. You'll see the email at the very end of this broadcast. It's vbvarieties@gmail.com, but you can check it out. If you've got an idea, if there's an author you'd like to see or a topic you'd like me to cover, just send me an email and I'll see what I can do. And if you've got a suggestion for somebody you'd like to see on the show, this is a variety show. Everything, we cover everything that you see back here. So that hence the name Variety. But for now, this is Bob Van Buren. I have enjoyed the show. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I will see you next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central and 8 p.m. Eastern. Good night, everybody.